David stared at his phone screen, watching another babysitter cancel at the last minute. The text message was short and brutal. "Sorry, can't do this anymore. The kids are too much. Good luck." He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the clock. 6:30 in the morning, and he was supposed to be at the construction site in an hour. His boss had already warned him twice about missing work. One more absence and he'd lose the job that barely kept food on the table for him and his twin 6-year-old children. "Dad, where's Mrs. Peterson?" Lily asked, walking into the kitchen in her pajamas, dragging her stuffed rabbit behind her. David forced a smile. "She won't be coming anymore, sweetheart. But don't worry, Dad will find someone new." Tyler appeared next, his dark hair sticking up in every direction. "Does this mean we get to stay home and watch cartoons all day?" "No, buddy. You both need to go to school." David's mind raced. He could call in sick again, but that would definitely cost him his job. He could ask his neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, but she'd already helped so many times. He felt terrible asking again. His wife, Anna, had been gone for 2 years now. Cancer had taken her when the twins were only 4. Some days, David still reached for his phone to call her when the kids did something funny or when he felt completely lost as a parent. The loneliness hit him hardest in moments like these. After getting the twins ready and dropping them at school with a promise he'd figure something out, David sat in his truck in the school parking lot. He opened the job app on his phone and posted an ad. "Need reliable nanny for twin 6-year-olds. Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Good with kids required. Budget-friendly rate." His phone buzzed within minutes. Most responses were from teenagers looking for easy money or agencies charging more than his monthly rent. Then one message caught his attention. "Hi, I'm Sophia. I saw your ad and I'm very interested. I love working with children and I'm available immediately. My rate is very reasonable. Can we meet today?" David blinked. Someone actually wanted to help, and they sounded professional. He quickly typed back, "Yes, can you meet at 2 p.m.? I'll send you the address." "Perfect. Looking forward to meeting you and the children." The rest of the morning dragged by on the construction site. David's supervisor noticed his distraction. "Martinez, you okay? You seem off today." "Yeah, just family stuff. I'll be fine." "Look, I like you, but I need workers who are here mentally and physically. Sort whatever's going on or we'll have to talk." David nodded, feeling the pressure squeeze tighter around his chest. This job was everything. Without it, he couldn't pay rent or buy groceries. The twins had already lost their mother. They couldn't lose their home, too. At 2 o'clock, David waited nervously in his small apartment. The place was clean but showed its age. The furniture was secondhand, and toys were scattered despite his morning attempt to tidy up. He worried about what this Sophia person would think. A gentle knock came at the door. David opened it to find a woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a warm smile. She wore simple jeans and a soft blue sweater. Nothing fancy, but she looked put together and professional. "You must be David. I'm Sophia Chen." "Yes, please come in. The kids aren't home from school yet, but I wanted to talk first." She stepped inside and looked around with genuine interest, not judgment. "You have a lovely home. It feels very warm and welcoming." David relaxed slightly. "Thank you. Can I get you some coffee or water?" Water would be great. As they sat at his small kitchen table, David studied her face. She had an unusual calmness about her, like nothing could rattle her. Her voice was gentle but confident. "Tell me about Lily and Tyler," she said. David's expression softened. "They're amazing kids, but they've been through a lot. Their mom died 2 years ago, and it's been just the 3 of us since then. They're usually good, but sometimes they act out. I think they're still processing everything." Sophia nodded thoughtfully. "That's completely normal. Children that age need extra patience and understanding when they've experienced loss." "What are their personalities like?" "Lily is the responsible one. She tries to take care of everyone, even me sometimes. Tyler is more energetic and curious. He asks a million questions about everything." David paused. "I have to be honest, Miss Chen, I can't pay much. Most nannies want more than I make in a week. Please call me Sophia, and don't worry about the money. I'm not doing this for wealth. I genuinely enjoy being with children." David felt suspicious for a moment. In his experience, people didn't work for less than they were worth without a reason. "Have you done this before? Do you have references?" "I've worked with children, yes. I recently moved here and I'm looking for a fresh start. I can provide references if you need them." Before David could ask more questions, the front door burst open. Lily and Tyler ran in, stopping short when they saw the stranger at their kitchen table. "Dad, who's this?" Lily asked, moving protectively closer to her father. "This is Sophia. She might be your new nanny." Tyler immediately perked up. "Are you nice?" "Mrs. Peterson was mean and she never let us have snacks." Sophia laughed, a genuine sound that filled the small apartment. "I think I'm pretty nice. And I believe kids should definitely have snacks when they're hungry." "What's your favorite color?" Tyler asked, bouncing on his toes. "I love blue, like the ocean. What about you?" "Green, like dinosaurs." Lily remained cautious. "Do you know how to braid hair?" "Mom used to braid mine every morning." Sophia's expression became gentle. "I do know how to braid. Would you like me to show you?" For the next hour, David watched in amazement as Sophia engaged with his children. She didn't talk down to them or try too hard to impress them. She asked Tyler about his toy dinosaurs and listened seriously as he explained which ones were carnivores. She carefully braided Lily's hair while asking about her favorite subjects in school. When it was time for Sophia to leave, both kids hugged her goodbye without being asked. "So," David said as he walked her to the door, "when can you start?" "Tomorrow morning, if that works for you." "That would be perfect. Thank you, Sophia, really. You have no idea how much this helps," she smiled. "See you at 7 a.m. As David watched her walk to a modest blue car, he felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Maybe things were finally looking up for his little family. That night, as he tucked the twins into bed, Lily whispered, "Dad, I like her. She has kind eyes like Mom did." Tyler nodded sleepily. "And she smells like flowers." David kissed their foreheads. "Sweet dreams, you two." For the first time in weeks, David fell asleep without worrying about tomorrow. He had no idea that the woman he'd just hired was about to change their lives in ways he could never imagine. 3 weeks had passed since Sophia started taking care of Lily and Tyler, and David couldn't believe the change in his children. Every morning he watched them race to the window to see if her blue car had arrived yet. "She's here. She's here!" Tyler would shout, pressing his face against the glass. Lily, usually more reserved, would break into a smile that reminded David so much of Anna it sometimes took his breath away. David had expected Sophia to be good with kids, but what he hadn't expected was how naturally she fit into their routine. She arrived every morning with a quiet confidence, like she'd been part of their family for years. This particular morning, David was running late for work when he heard laughter coming from the kitchen. He found Sophia teaching the twins how to make pancakes shaped like animals. "Look, Dad." Tyler held up a lumpy pancake. "It's an elephant." "That's amazing, buddy." David grabbed his coffee and lunch. "Sophia, you really don't have to go to all this trouble. Cereal is fine for breakfast." She looked up from the stove, flour dusting her cheek. "It's no trouble at all. Besides, they love helping. Right, Lily?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Sophia taught us that cooking is like science. You have to measure everything perfectly or it doesn't work." David paused. Most babysitters he'd known couldn't get his kids to eat vegetables, let alone turn breakfast into a learning experience. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "Oh, here and there," Sophia said vaguely, flipping a pancake that looked suspiciously like a perfect butterfly. "My father always said food tastes better when you make it with love." There was something in her voice when she mentioned her father, a sadness that David recognized. He wanted to ask more, but Tyler was already tugging on his work shirt. "Dad, you have to see what Sophia brought us yesterday." In the living room, David found a collection of books he'd never seen before. Not just any books, but beautiful hardcover editions that looked expensive. There was a complete set of children's encyclopedias and several books on art and science. "Sophia, these must have cost a fortune." "I can't let you spend your money on— I found them at a garage sale," she said quickly. The previous owner was moving and practically giving them away. "The children love learning, so I thought they might enjoy them." David frowned slightly. The books looked brand new, not secondhand. But before he could question further, Lily was already opening one of the art books. "Look, Dad, Sophia showed us how real artists mix colors. Did you know if you mix red and yellow, you get orange?" "I did know that, sweetheart." He glanced at Sophia, who was busying herself with cleaning up the kitchen. Something didn't quite add up, but the twins were so happy he decided not to push it. Over the following days, David began noticing other small things. Sophia's phone would ring occasionally, and she'd step outside to take the call. He could hear her speaking, but her voice sounded different, more authoritative than the gentle tone she used with the children. One afternoon, he came home early to find Tyler wearing brand new glasses. Tyler needed an eye exam, Sophia explained before David could ask. I hope you don't mind. But there was a free clinic at the community center. They said his vision isn't perfect and these will help him see the board at school better. David stared at his son, who was grinning proudly at his reflection in the hallway mirror. Free clinic? Yes, they were doing screenings for children in the neighborhood. Very lucky timing. But David had never heard of any free clinic in their area. And the glasses Tyler wore weren't cheap-looking frames from a charity program. They were stylish and looked like they cost more than David made in a day. That evening, after Sophia left, David called the community center. Free eye clinic? The receptionist said. No, sir, we don't offer anything like that. You might be thinking of the health department across town, but they only do basic checkups. David hung up the phone, confused. Why would Sophia lie about something like that? Tyler clearly needed the glasses, and David was grateful someone had noticed. But the deception bothered him. The next morning, he decided to test his suspicions. Sophia, Tyler mentioned you took him to your friend's house yesterday for the eye appointment. Must be nice having friends in the medical field. She paused while helping Lily with her backpack. Oh yes, Dr. Williams is an old family friend. She was happy to help. Another lie. Tyler had told David they went to a big building with lots of people in white coats. Not someone's house. Despite his growing suspicions, David couldn't deny that Sophia was transforming his children's lives. Lily, who had been quiet and withdrawn since Anna's death, was laughing again. She'd started drawing pictures every day, and her teacher had called to say her confidence in class had improved dramatically. Tyler, always energetic but often frustrated by his inability to focus, was now reading books that David couldn't have imagined him touching before. His teacher reported that he was participating more in class and had made 2 new friends. But it wasn't just the children who were changing. David found himself looking forward to the brief conversations he had with Sophia in the mornings and evenings. She had a way of listening that made him feel heard, something he hadn't experienced since Anna died. One evening, as Sophia was gathering her things to leave, Lily ran up and wrapped her arms around her waist. I wish you could stay for dinner every night, Lily said. It gets lonely when it's just us. David's heart clenched. He hadn't realized how isolated his children felt in the evenings. Maybe Sophia could stay for dinner tomorrow night, he heard himself saying. If she wants to, of course. I could cook something special. Sophia's cheeks turned slightly pink. That's very kind, but I wouldn't want to impose. Please, Sophia. Tyler joined his sister. Dad makes really good spaghetti. Well, she said, smiling down at the twins, how could I say no to that? The next evening, David found himself nervous as he prepared dinner. He'd cleaned the apartment twice and even bought flowers for the table, though he told himself they were just to brighten the place up. Sophia arrived with a bottle of wine that probably cost more than David's weekly grocery budget. You really didn't need to bring anything, he said, examining the label. He didn't know much about wine, but this looked expensive. It's nothing special, she said, though David noticed she avoided meeting his eyes. Dinner was wonderful. Sophia helped the twins with their homework while David cooked, and when they sat down to eat, the conversation flowed naturally. She asked thoughtful questions about his work and shared funny stories that had the children giggling. But David also noticed things that didn't fit. The way she held her wine glass suggested someone familiar with fine dining. When Tyler spilled juice on her sweater, she didn't seem worried about a stain on what David now realized was probably cashmere. After the children went to bed, David and Sophia sat on his small couch, sharing the last of the wine. Thank you for this, she said quietly. I haven't felt part of a family in a long time. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay anything. Being here with you and the children, it's given me something I didn't know I was missing. There was something in her voice, a loneliness that matched his own. For a moment, David forgot about the expensive books and the mysterious phone calls. All he saw was a woman who cared about his children and seemed to understand what it felt like to be lost. As she gathered her purse to leave, David noticed her wallet fall open. Inside, he caught a glimpse of what looked like multiple credit cards with different names and a driver's license that didn't match the address she'd given him. Sophia, he started, but she'd already scooped up her wallet and headed for the door. See you tomorrow morning, she called, leaving David standing in his doorway with more questions than answers. That night, as he lay in bed, David stared at the ceiling and wondered who Sophia Chen really was. Everything in his gut told him she was hiding something big. But when he thought about Lily's laughter and Tyler's new confidence, he realized he was afraid to dig too deep. Some secrets, he told himself, might be worth keeping if they made his children happy. But deep down, he knew that whatever Sophia was hiding, it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. David had been watching Sophia more carefully lately, and the little inconsistencies in her story were starting to pile up. It had been 6 weeks since she'd started caring for Lily and Tyler, and while his children had never been happier, his suspicions kept growing. It started with small things. Last Tuesday, he'd forgotten his lunch and driven home during his break to grab something quick. As he pulled into his apartment complex, he spotted Sophia's blue car in the parking lot, but she was sitting in the driver's seat talking on the phone. Even from a distance, he could see her posture was completely different. She sat straight, confident, like someone used to being in charge. When she noticed his truck, she quickly ended the call and got out of her car with the gentle, almost submissive demeanor he was used to seeing. "David, is everything okay?" she asked, concern in her voice. "Just forgot my lunch. Where are the kids?" "Playing at the park across the street." "I can see them from here." She gestured toward the playground where he could indeed see Lily and Tyler on the swings, but something in her eyes looked different. For just a moment, she'd looked like someone else entirely. Then there was the incident with Tyler's allergic reaction. Last week, Tyler had broken out in hives after eating something at school. David had rushed home to find Sophia calmly applying the right cream and giving Tyler children's antihistamine. "How did you know what to do?" David asked, amazed at how quickly she'd handled the situation. "Oh, basic first aid knowledge," she'd said. But David noticed she knew exactly which medication to give and the correct dosage without looking it up. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. David had finished work early and decided to surprise the kids by picking them up from Sophia's care and taking them for ice cream. But when he arrived at his apartment, no one was there. He called Sophia's phone. "Hey, where are you guys?" "We're at my friend's house. The children wanted to see where I live sometimes." "Which friend? What's the address in case I need to pick them up?" There was a pause. "Actually, we're on our way back now. See you in 20 minutes. When they returned, both Lily and Tyler were buzzing with excitement. "Dad, you should see Sophia's friend's house," Tyler exclaimed. "It's huge!" "Like a castle. It has a swimming pool and a room just for books," Lily added. "And the kitchen is bigger than our whole apartment." David looked at Sophia, who was avoiding his gaze. "Sounds like quite a place." "My friend does well for herself," Sophia said quietly. That night after Sophia left, David gently questioned the children. "Tell me more about this house you visited." "It was so fancy, Dad," Lily said, brushing her teeth. "Everything was white and shiny, and there were people there who called Sophia Miss Chen and asked if she needed anything." "People? Like servants?" "I guess so. They wore uniforms and everything, and Sophia had her own room there with lots of pretty clothes and a huge closet." David's mind raced. Servants, a mansion. This wasn't adding up to someone who worked as a nanny for barely above minimum wage. The next week, David decided to follow his instincts. During his lunch break, instead of staying at the construction site, he drove to the coffee shop near his apartment where Sophia sometimes took the kids. He didn't plan to spy exactly. He just wanted to see if she acted differently when she thought he wasn't around. What he saw through the window made his blood run cold. Sophia was sitting at a corner table with a man in an expensive suit. Between them were scattered papers, and the man was pointing at documents while speaking intensely. Sophia's entire demeanor was transformed. She sat with authority, making decisive gestures and clearly giving instructions. But what shocked David most was seeing her sign papers with a pen that even from a distance looked expensive, and her signature was confident and quick, like someone used to signing important documents regularly. When the meeting ended, the man stood and shook her hand with obvious respect, even deference. As Sophia gathered the papers, David saw her slip them into a briefcase he'd never seen before. David quickly left before she could spot him, but his mind was spinning. Who was this woman really, and why was she pretending to be someone she clearly wasn't? The answer came sooner than he expected. The following Monday, Tyler woke up complaining of stomach pain. By mid-morning, Sophia called David at work, her voice tight with worry. "David, you need to meet us at St. Mary's Hospital. Tyler's in a lot of pain and I think it might be his appendix. David's world tilted. What, is he okay? The doctors are examining him now. I'll explain everything when you get here. David raced to the hospital, his heart pounding. When he arrived at the emergency room, he found Sophia in the waiting area, but she looked completely different. Gone was the gentle, modest Nanny. In her place was a woman who commanded attention and respect. Where is he? David demanded. They just took him for a CT scan. The doctor thinks it's appendicitis, but they want to be sure. As they waited, David watched Sophia interact with the medical staff. She spoke to doctors like an equal, asked detailed medical questions that showed sophisticated knowledge. And when Tyler needed a specialist, she made a phone call that somehow got the best pediatric surgeon in the city to the hospital within an hour. How did you do that? David asked, staring at her. Do what? Get Dr. Harrison here so fast. I looked him up. He's supposed to be booked months in advance. Sophia's cheeks flushed. I just explained the situation. Sometimes doctors make exceptions for children. But David had heard part of her phone conversation. She hadn't pleaded or explained. She'd spoken with the confidence of someone used to getting what she wanted immediately. When Tyler came out of surgery successfully, David was relieved, but more confused than ever. As they sat in Tyler's recovery room, watching his son sleep peacefully, David noticed Sophia quietly speaking with hospital administrators in the hallway. Later, when he went to handle the insurance paperwork, he was told there would be no charges. I'm sorry, what do you mean no charges? The bill has been taken care of, the clerk said. Everything's covered. By my insurance? No, sir, by a private arrangement. It's all been handled. David stormed back to Tyler's room where Sophia was reading quietly beside his son's bed. What did you do? He asked in a low voice, not wanting to wake Tyler. I don't know what you mean. The hospital bill. Someone paid it. Someone who isn't my insurance company. Sophia's shoulders sagged slightly. Tyler needed surgery. That's all that matters. That's not all that matters. I can't accept charity, especially from someone who's been lying to me about who she really is. Sophia looked up at him, and for the first time since he'd known her, her mask completely slipped. In her eyes he saw not just wealth, but the weight of carrying secrets. David, please. Can we not do this here? Tyler needs his father to be able to take care of him without handouts from strangers. Who are you really, Sophia? And don't give me another story about garage sales and family friends. Before she could answer, Tyler stirred awake. Dad? Sophia? His voice was groggy from the anesthesia. Are you both here? We're here, buddy, David said, immediately switching to gentle father mode. How are you feeling? My tummy hurts, but not as bad as before. Sophia, you stayed the whole time? Of course I did, she said softly, stroking Tyler's forehead. I wouldn't leave you. David watched the tender interaction between Sophia and his son, and despite his anger and confusion, he could see the genuine love in her eyes. Whatever she was hiding, her feelings for his children were real. But as Tyler drifted back to sleep, David made a decision. He couldn't build a life for his family on lies and secrets, no matter how well-intentioned they might be. We need to talk, he whispered to Sophia. Tonight after we get home. No more games. Sophia nodded, and David saw fear in her eyes for the first time. Whatever she'd been hiding, she knew the truth was about to come out. As they prepared to take Tyler home the next day, David couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He just had no idea how dramatically different their lives were about to become. David had just put Tyler to bed after bringing him home from the hospital, when Mrs. Rodriguez knocked on his door. His elderly neighbor had watched Lily during the crisis, and he expected her to ask about Tyler's condition. Instead, she had a strange expression on her face. David, mijo, I need to show you something, she said, holding her tablet. I was reading the news online and I saw a picture that looked familiar. She handed him the device and David's world stopped. On the screen was a business article titled Tech Heiress Sophia Chen Williams Takes Indefinite Leave from Billion-Dollar Empire. The photo showed Sophia, but not the Sophia he knew. This woman wore an expensive business suit, her hair styled perfectly, and she radiated the kind of confidence that came with serious power. That's your nanny, right? Mrs. Rodriguez asked gently. I thought it was strange when I first saw her. She reminded me of someone I'd seen on television. David read the article with growing shock. Sophia Chen Williams, heir to Chen Williams Technology, worth an estimated $3.2 billion. Recently divorced from tech entrepreneur Marcus Williams in a highly publicized case involving attempted corporate takeover. Currently taking time away from her position as CEO. "This can't be right," David whispered, but the evidence was staring him in the face. "The article says she disappeared from public view 3 months ago," Mrs. Rodriguez continued. "Around the same time your Sophia showed up looking for work." David's hand shook as he scrolled through more photos. There was Sophia at charity galas, business conferences, magazine covers. Always dressed in designer clothes, always surrounded by people who clearly saw her as someone important. "David, everything okay?" Sophia's voice came from behind him. She'd returned to check on Tyler as she'd promised. Mrs. Rodriguez quickly excused herself, taking her tablet with her. David turned to face Sophia, the phone still in his hand showing her picture. "We need to talk. Now." Sophia saw the screen and her face went pale. "David, I can explain. Can you?" "Because I'm looking at pictures of Sophia Chen Williams, Billionaire CEO, and she looks exactly like the woman I've been paying $15 an hour to watch my kids." Sophia closed her eyes. "Let me check on Tyler first. Then we'll talk." "No, Tyler's fine. You're going to talk to me right now or you're going to leave and never come back." The harsh words hung in the air between them. Sophia looked like he'd physically struck her. "Please don't wake the children," she said quietly. They moved to the kitchen where David crossed his arms and waited. Sophia sat down heavily, looking older than he'd ever seen her. "Everything you read is true," she began. "I am Sophia Chen Williams. I did inherit my family's technology company. I am worth billions of dollars. Then what the hell are you doing here?" David's voice was tight with anger. "What kind of sick game is this? Were you bored? Did you think it would be fun to play house with the poor single dad and his kids?" "No." Sophia looked up sharply. "It wasn't like that at all." "Then explain it to me. Explain why a billionaire answered my ad for a $15 an hour nanny job." Sophia took a shaky breath. 3 months ago, my life fell apart. My husband, my ex-husband now, tried to steal my company. We'd been married for 5 years and I thought he loved me, but he'd been planning to take everything from the moment we got engaged. "So you decided to become a nanny?" "I didn't decide anything, I ran. After the divorce was final, I couldn't stand being in that world anymore. Everyone wanted something from me. Money, connections, business deals. I never knew if people liked me or just what I could give them." David wanted to stay angry, but something in her voice made him listen. "I was driving around the city one day, trying to figure out what to do with my life when I saw your ad, looking for someone who's good with kids. Not someone with money or connections, just someone who cared about children. So you lied. I told myself it was temporary, just a few weeks to figure things out. But then I met you and Lily and Tyler, and for the first time in years, people valued me for who I was, not what I owned. Except you weren't being who you are. You were pretending to be someone else entirely." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "You're right. I was selfish. I wanted to feel normal so badly that I convinced myself the lies didn't matter. The hospital bill, Tyler's glasses, the books. How much money have you spent on us? It doesn't matter. It matters to me." David's voice rose, then he caught himself and lowered it. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Finding out that everything you've done for us was charity? That you've been taking care of us like we're your pet project? That's not what this was." "Then what was it, Sophia? Or Sophia, what do I even call you?" "Call me Sophia. That's who I am when I'm here with you. But that's the problem. None of this is real. You're not really Sophia the nanny. You're Sophia the billionaire playing pretend." They stared at each other across the kitchen table. David could see the pain in her eyes, but his own hurt was too fresh to care. "I fell in love with you," she whispered. The words hit David like a physical blow. "You what?" "I fell in love with all of you. With Tyler's curiosity and Lily's kindness and your dedication to them. I fell in love with the way you make pancakes on Sunday mornings and how you sing off-key in the shower and think no one can hear you." David's anger faltered for a moment, but then reality crashed back in. "You fell in love with a fantasy, with playing house in my little apartment while your real life waited for you somewhere else. That's not true, isn't it? What happens when you get bored of this experiment? When you miss your fancy restaurants and designer clothes and people who jump when you snap your fingers? I don't want that life anymore. You say that now, but what about next month, next year? What happens when Tyler needs something I can't afford and you just casually fix it with your billions? How do I raise my children when every problem gets solved by your money? Sophia was crying now. I never meant for it to happen this way. But it did happen this way. You made choices, and those choices were all lies. From down the hall, they heard Tyler calling out, "Dad? Sophia? Is everything okay?" David's parental instincts kicked in immediately. "We're fine, buddy. Go back to sleep. Can Sophia come say goodnight?" David looked at Sophia, who was wiping her eyes. Despite everything, she stood up to go comfort his son. "Dad," Lily appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. "Tyler woke me up. He said people were arguing." "Nobody's arguing, sweetheart. Sophia's just saying goodbye for tonight. Are you coming back tomorrow, Sophia?" Lily asked innocently. Sophia knelt down to Lily's level. "I don't know, sweetie. We'll see. But you have to come back. You're part of our family now." The simple words from his 6-year-old daughter hit David harder than anything else that evening. In Lily's world, Sophia belonged with them. She didn't care about money or lies or complicated adult problems. She just knew that Sophia made her feel safe and loved. After getting both children back to bed, David and Sophia stood in his living room, the space between them feeling like an ocean. "I should go," Sophia said quietly. "Yeah, you should. Will you let me explain to them? Or will you just tell them I'm not coming back?" David closed his eyes. "I don't know. I need time to think. I understand." She picked up her purse, then turned back. "David, I know you don't believe me right now, but everything I felt here was real. This is the happiest I've been in my entire life. If that's true, then you should have trusted me with the truth. You're right. I should have. I was just so afraid of losing this." "Well, now you have." Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. She walked to the door, then paused. "I love them, David. I love all of you. That was never a lie." After she left, David sank onto his couch and put his head in his hands. 3 hours ago, he'd been grateful for the amazing woman who'd brought joy back into his children's lives. Now he felt like everything good in his world had been built on quicksand. The worst part was that despite his anger, despite feeling betrayed and humiliated, he missed her already. And he knew that when Lily and Tyler woke up tomorrow asking for Sophia, he'd have to break their hearts all over again. Outside, Sophia sat in her car for 10 minutes before she could stop crying enough to drive away. She'd known this day would come eventually, but she'd hoped she'd find the courage to tell David the truth herself. Now she'd lost the only real family she'd ever known, and she had no one to blame but herself. 2 months had passed since Sophia walked out of David's life, and nothing felt right anymore. David stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror as he got ready for work, seeing a man who looked older than his 34 years. The dark circles under his eyes told the story of too many sleepless nights. "Dad, can we call Sophia today?" Tyler asked for the 100th time as David made breakfast. "Buddy, we've talked about this. Sophia isn't our nanny anymore, but why?" Lily's voice was small and hurt. "Did we do something wrong?" David's heart broke a little more each time they asked. How could he explain adult complications to 6-year-olds who only knew that someone they loved had disappeared from their lives? "You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes adults have to make difficult choices." The new babysitter, Mrs. Patterson, was perfectly adequate. She kept the kids safe, fed them regular meals, and made sure they did their homework. But she wasn't Sophia. She didn't turn breakfast into art projects or transform bedtime stories into magical adventures. Most importantly, she didn't love his children the way Sophia had. Because despite everything, David couldn't deny that Sophia's love for Lily and Tyler had been genuine. He'd seen it in her eyes every day, in the way she celebrated Tyler's small victories and patiently helped Lily with her fears. David's work performance had suffered too. His supervisor had noticed his distraction, and David knew he was walking a thin line again. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was back to the same problems he'd had before Sophia entered their lives. But it was Lily who finally forced his hand. On a gray Tuesday morning, David got a call from the school principal. "Mr. Martinez, we need you to come in. Lily's having a difficult day." David found his daughter sitting in the principal's office, her eyes red from crying. Her teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, looked concerned. "Lily hasn't been herself lately," Ms. Rodriguez explained. "Today she refused to participate in art class, which is usually her favorite. When I asked what was wrong, she said she didn't want to paint anymore because it reminded her of Sophia." David knelt beside his daughter's chair. "Lily, sweetheart, what's going on?" "I miss her, Dad," Lily whispered. "I dream about her sometimes, and when I wake up, I remember she's not coming back. It makes my chest hurt. Looking at his heartbroken daughter, David realized he'd been so focused on his own hurt and pride that he'd forgotten what was best for his children. They were grieving, and he hadn't helped them process that loss. That evening, David made a decision that terrified him. He called the number Sophia had left, not knowing if she'd even answer. "David?" Her voice sounded surprised and hopeful. "We need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow?" "Without the kids, and on, of course. Anywhere you want." They met at a small cafe across town, somewhere they'd never been together. Sophia arrived first, and David was struck by how different she looked. Gone were the simple clothes and understated appearance. She wore an elegant outfit that probably cost more than his monthly rent, and her hair was styled in a way that screamed expensive salon. But when she saw him, her face lit up with the same genuine warmth he remembered. "How's Tyler's recovery going?" she asked immediately. "He's fine. Completely healed." David sat down across from her. "That's not why I called. How are they handling everything?" David noticed she didn't ask how he was doing. "They're not. Lily's stopped drawing. Tyler keeps asking when you're coming back. They don't understand why someone they love just disappeared." Sophia's composure cracked. "I never wanted to hurt them." "I know you didn't. That's the only reason I'm here." They sat in silence for a moment. David studied her face, looking for traces of the woman who'd made pancakes with his children. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said that night," David finally continued. "About falling in love with us." Every word was true. Maybe. But I also think you fell in love with the idea of being normal, of being wanted for who you are instead of what you have. Sophia nodded slowly. "You're probably right. The thing is, you never gave me the chance to know who you really are. The real you. You showed me this version of yourself that you thought I'd accept. I was afraid you'd see me differently if you knew about the money. You were probably right about that too. But Sophia, everyone judges people based on their circumstances, rich, poor, whatever. The difference is whether you let that be the end of the story or just the beginning." "What do you mean?" David leaned forward. "I mean, maybe I would have been intimidated at first. Maybe I would have felt inadequate or suspicious about your motives. But if you'd been honest with me, we could have worked through those feelings together. And now? Now I don't know. You took that choice away from both of us when you built our relationship on lies." Sophia wiped her eyes with a tissue. "I know I can't undo what I did. But David, these past 2 months without you and the children have been the loneliest of my life. I keep going to board meetings and charity events, and all I can think about is Tyler's laugh and Lily's questions about everything. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to try again. The right way this time. With complete honesty about who I am and what my life looks like." David had expected this, but hearing it still made his heart race. "And what does your life look like, Sophia?" "Complicated," she admitted. "I have responsibilities to thousands of employees. I sit on boards and make decisions that affect people's livelihoods. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and sometimes that money is the only way I can help people I care about. Like paying Tyler's hospital bill. Yes, and I'm not sorry I did that. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's exactly the problem. How do I maintain my dignity as a father when you can solve any problem with a phone call and a credit card?" Sophia was quiet for a long moment. "What if we made some rules? Boundaries that we both agree on?" "What kind of rules?" "No financial help without discussing it first. No using my connections to fix things unless you're okay with it. Complete transparency about my business life and what it demands." David considered this. "And what happens when your world and mine don't fit together? When you have to choose between a board meeting and Tyler's school play?" "Then I choose Tyler's school play. David, I've already proven I can run a company. But I've never had the chance to be part of a real family. If you give me another chance, that family will always come first." "You say that now, but—" "I've already made changes," Sophia interrupted. "I've stepped back from day-to-day operations. I'm keeping my position as CEO, but I've hired executives to handle most of the daily decisions. I want to be present for the life we could build together." David studied her face, looking for any sign of the deception that had hurt him so deeply before. What he saw instead was vulnerability and hope. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Scared of trusting you again and getting hurt. Scared of my kids getting attached and you deciding this isn't the life you want after all." "I'm scared too," Sophia said. "Scared you'll never forgive me. Scared I've destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me." They sat with that honesty between them for several minutes. "If we do this, David finally said. It has to be different. No more secrets. No more lies, even small ones. And we take it slow. The kids have already been through enough. Whatever you need. I need you to understand that I may never be comfortable with your money. I may always feel a little intimidated or defensive about it. Then we'll work through those feelings together. Like you said, it can be the beginning of the conversation, not the end. David took a deep breath. Lily has an art show next Friday. She's been refusing to participate, but her teacher thinks if she had the right encouragement, she might change her mind. Are you asking me to come? I'm asking if you want to. Not as the kids' nanny, but as someone who cares about them. Someone who might want to be part of their lives in a different way. Sophia's smile was radiant. I'd love that more than anything. Just so we're clear, this isn't me saying everything's forgiven and forgotten. This is me saying I'm willing to try to figure out if we can build something real together. I understand. As they prepared to leave, David felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Hope. It was fragile and uncertain, but it was there. One more thing, he said as they walked to their cars. What do I call you? Sophia or Sophia? She paused thoughtfully. With the kids, I'll always be Sophia. That's who I became when I fell in love with your family. But I'd like you to know Sophia, too. She's part of who I am, David nodded. Then I guess I'll have to get to know both of you. A year later, David stood in the same small chapel where he'd married Anna, watching Sophia walk down the aisle in a simple white dress. The guest list was small, just close friends and family, but every face in the audience was glowing with happiness. Lily and Tyler walked ahead of Sophia, scattering flower petals and grinning proudly. They'd been involved in every aspect of planning the wedding, from choosing the flowers to writing their own vows to welcome Sophia into their family officially. The journey to this moment hadn't been easy. There had been difficult conversations about money and boundaries, awkward moments when Sophia's business world collided with their family life, and times when David's insecurities and Sophia's guilt about her deception had threatened their progress. But they'd worked through each challenge together, building a foundation of trust and honest communication that felt unshakable. As Sophia reached the altar, she handed her bouquet to Lily and took David's hands. I promise, she said during their vows, to love your children as my own, to build a life with you based on truth and trust, and to never let my past mistakes overshadow our future together. David's voice was thick with emotion as he responded. I promise to see you for who you really are, both Sophia and Sophia, and to love every part of the woman you've shown me how to be. When they kissed, sealing their commitment, Tyler cheered loudly, and Lily threw her flower petals in the air, creating a perfect moment of pure joy. Later at their small reception, David watched Sophia teaching Tyler how to dance while Lily worked on a thank you card for the guests. This was their family now, complicated and imperfect and absolutely perfect. No regrets? Sophia asked as they swayed together during their first dance as husband and wife. Only one, David said, smiling. I wish we'd found each other sooner. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to, Sophia replied. Everything we went through brought us to this moment. As the evening wound down and they prepared to take the children home to the house they'd bought together, a perfect compromise between David's desire for normalcy and Sophia's need for space to work, David reflected on how much their lives had changed. He'd learned that love wasn't about two people being perfectly matched from the start. It was about choosing each other every day, working through differences, and building something stronger together than either could create alone. And Sophia had discovered that being truly known and loved, flaws and all, was worth more than all the money in the world. Their story hadn't ended when the truth came out. It had finally begun.